Hello, folks. It's me, the old Deplorable Basket Case, and I'm back once again with encouraging world news this week in Awesome. As a means of alerting physicians to the dangers and realities of overprescribing, researchers working through a local medical examiner to send letters to 381 physicians in San Diego County, California concerning their former patients. Based on actual cases, the letters informed the physicians that a patient to whom they had given an opioid prescription had passed away of a fatal overdose. Enclosed with the letter was a CDC-approved set of guidelines for how healthcare professionals should safely be prescribing opioids. Clinicians who received the letters prescribed 10% less opioids than the clinicians in the control group who did not receive the letters. Not only that, physicians who received the notices were overall less likely to start patients on opioids and less likely to give patients higher doses of opioids. Which is good. An Indian Supreme Court... The Supreme Court of India, just struck down a law that made adultery punishable for up to 5 years in prison. The law stated that a man had legal grounds to sue his wife's lover without her consent, but a woman did not have the same legal right. While a woman could have been charged with a criminal offense, punishable by a fine and/or up to 5 years in prison. The verdict emphasized that adultery would still be a grounds for divorce, just not jail time. According to a new set of data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, the United States coal consumption has declined to the lowest rate since 1983. Coal power has declined by 32 billion kilowatt hours during the first half of 2018. Meanwhile, nuclear power generation was up by 16 billion, solar increased by 7 billion, and wind rose by 15 billion. Which is cool. Less pollutants in the air is good for everyone. Excuse me. The Ocean Ceanup INitiative successfully set sail and is now undergoing its final round of tests before it begins tidying up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. The vessel specifically designed to tackle the massive trash island left San Francisco Bay on September 9th and began testing on September 19th. Dubbed System 01, or Wilson, they traveled 350 nautical miles away from the coast to fill its 5-item checklist before taking on the garbage patch. According to the Ocean Ceanup Organization, while the test has already been successfully checked off the list, testing is only expected to take 1 more week before it can tackle the patch, so it may actually have been started by now. Consider a final dress rehearsal before the main performance, the organization said in a statement. Should we encounter any issues, it is much easier to tow the system back to shore from here than it would be all the way from the patch, they added. Which, is true. The University of Louisville Hospital. 4 people who have been completely paralyzed from the waist down for years are walking again. 2 of them on the ground, not just on a treadmill. 2 of them are with help. Able to stand and take limited steps, that is. Excuse me. Groundbreaking medical development, 8 to 9 weeks prior to the implantation of an epidural stimulator. They started training their motor skills by manual facilitating stepping on a treadmill for 5 days per week, 2 hours each day. There was no change to their abilities prior to the implant. Following the implant of the epidural stimulator, participants were able to step when the stimulator was on and the individual intended to walk. The research is a combination of 2 distinct treatments. Epidural stimulation, I tried to say epidermal, which is not right. Epidural stimulation of the spinal cord and locomotor training. Epidural stimulation is the application of continuous electrical current at varying frequencies and intensities to specific locations on the spinal cord. Locomotor training aims to ultimately retrain the spinal cord to remember the pattern of walking by repetitively practicing standing and stepping. Locomotor training is widely used. Epidural stimulation has been used in research previously. This is the first time both methods have been put together, and the results are very encouraging. Hence, its inclusion in this list. Speaking of nerve stimulation, vagus nerve stimulation, or VNS, is a treatment already in use for epilepsy and depression. By now, it seems to be used to help restore consciousness, even after years in a vegetative state. Despite the general belief that disorders of consciousness persisting for more than 12 months are irreversible, a 35-year-old man has been in a vegetative state for 15 years after a car accident. Has shown signs of consciousness after neurosurgeons implanted a small nerve stimulator to the vagus nerve in the patient's chest. After 1 month of vagal nerve stimulation, He entered a state of minimal consciousness. Attention, movement, and brain activity significantly improved. For example, he could follow an object with his eyes and turn his head upon request. His mother reported an improved ability to stay awake when listening to his therapist reading a book. According to brain activity, also revealed major changes. The researchers are now planning a larger collaborative study to confirm and extend the therapeutic potential of VNS for patients in a vegetative or minimally conscious state. Last one, also on the in the area of medical advancements, but not quite in the same way. This isn't a completely new treatment, but this is a new way of doing a widely used treatment. Bangladeshi doctor Dr. Mohammed Chisti, I hope I'm saying that right, first saw 3 children die of pneumonia in 1966. The condition can be treated with a ventilator that helps the patients to breathe, but since the average ventilator costs about $15,000, many hospitals in poor countries can't afford the proper equipment. But when Chisti was studying in Australia, he was introduced to a different kind of ventilator that employed bubble CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure. The machine feeds a child's exhaled breath into a vat of water, which creates bubbles that pressurize and are fed back into the patient's lungs. This helps improve the patient's lung capacity so they can overcome the infection. Or rather, so they can survive to overcome the infection. Unfortunately, the ventilators cost about $6,000, which is still very costly. Then one day, Dr. Chisti noticed a discarded shampoo bottle that happened to be filled with bubbles. He was inspired and used a shampoo bottle to create a ventilator that he tested on several patients, and it worked, and they recovered almost overnight. Chisti and a research team conducted a randomized 2-year study and found that his ingenious ventilator cut pneumonia-related infant deaths by 75%. The study does the story I read doesn't compare this this percentage with the percentage of people on the regular ventilators and so forth that are more expensive. But this is huge. That's huge, right? You get that. The shampoo bottle only costs about $1.25. Since the bottle also uses oxygen far more efficiently than other methods available to them, his hospital went from spending $30,000 on oxygen every year to just $6,000. Chisti's device is currently being tested in Ethiopian hospitals, and the good doctor hopes his invention will start being used by medical facilities around the world. And that's it, folks. That's all for today. Amazing, isn't it? So much happened this week. I was kind of blown away. I actually had to cut this down for length. This is over 8 minutes already, and my voice. I don't know. I'm sure you noticed. I'm kind of running down here. But it's amazing. All this amazing things happening in the world, all over. The world is improving in so many ways. We got so much to be encouraged about for the future, and not even just future, just for right now. I mean, I'm kind of babbling now, aren't I? Sorry. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for listening. Please comment below with anything you have to say if you'd like to know what you think, and have a good day and God bless.